negative synchronicities and challenges which are part of our excitement. For example, if traveling by car somewhere is part of your excitement and your car doesn't immediately start, but after a lot of time and effort, your car actually does start, have you ignored a negative synchronicity or have you successfully managed a challenge as part of your excitement?
It may be either. You have to, again, investigate yourself to understand. But then again, there are things that may occur that you may never understand directly. For example, I can give you the illustration that the car not starting right away may actually have prevented you from getting into an accident. So you have to look at it from a number of points of view, but also don't look at it too hard. Just go with the flow of the way it happens, remaining in a positive state, and you will then get the benefit from it. You will not always know why synchronicity manifests in the way that it does, but you can always take the time to check within yourself to make sure it's not the product of resistance within you to your natural self or to something that you attempt to do. But if you're clear that it's not, then just go with the flow of the way synchronicity presents you the opportunity to move forward.
Why do we need to experience negativity and suffering? Why did we choose to incarnate in a world where there's so much suffering? Why not just stay in heaven?
You can choose to do that, but obviously you want to discover something new and you want to be of assistance in helping people learn to transform the idea of the negativity and suffering and pain into something that is more representative of joy and harmony and ecstasy. So the idea is that you chose to be of service. You chose to learn these ideas so that you could help others. So put that learning into action. Help others learn how to let go of pain and suffering and transform themselves into more joy and harmony by getting in touch with the belief systems that they're holding on to that is causing the resistance, which causes the pain and the suffering, or the definitions that they are holding on to that don't allow them to be themselves. The idea of remaining in heaven is all well and good in spirit, as you say, but there are only certain things that can be experienced in the physical reality experience. Forgetting yourself in order to remember who you are from a new point of view allows you to expand and grow in ways that you can't when you're in a more timeless state. So the idea is that it is a challenging experience, certainly, but it's one absolutely rich with potential to discover new points of view, new experiences, new understandings of all that is in all the ways it can experience itself to be through you.
Okay.
We could simply add the analogy, why do your people go to amusement parks and go on scary rides like roller coasters? It challenges them to get in touch with whatever it is that may be representative of fear, so they may, under a controlled situation, have more ability and effectiveness at transforming that fear because they come out all right on the other end. So you could use that simple analogy for the idea that you've decided to go on a huge roller coaster ride, knowing that as an indestructible spirit, you're going to come out all right on the other end anyway. But in the meantime, you have different purposes for having chosen to be where you are, and most of them have to do with helping others learn how to transform things in more positive ways, along with you learning that lesson as well.
Okay. This individual asks, how do I let go of my unacceptance of negative beliefs and feeling that negative emotions are bad and that there's something wrong with me? I've heard dark has to exist for light to exist, but still I find myself asking, why do we have to experience suffering? I think my unacceptance of negative beliefs is making it impossible for me to let them go. In one communication, you spoke of the neutral zone. How can we get into that neutral state where it's easier to transform things?
Well, the paradox is, as you say, you have to accept the existence of the negative in order to allow yourself to be in the neutral zone where you have the ability to choose what you prefer without invalidating what you don't prefer. And you're mixing up a lot of definitions in there. because you're talking about value judgments and not just a recognition of a mechanism. When we talk about positive and negative, we're not talking about value judgments of good and bad. We're talking about how you're using the energy, how you're using the mechanism. Negative energy, negative beliefs are simply that which make you experience the feelings of disconnection, separation, diminishment, so on and so forth. But this is a mechanism we're talking about. Positive allows you to experience the idea of connection, expansion, engagement. The idea, again, is that we're talking about a mechanism of energy here and how it works. Because remember, you can use negative mechanisms to a positive effect. You're doing that right now by experiencing physical reality. You are a bigger being than what you are as a physical person. So you had to use the negative, so to speak, mechanism of imposing limitations on your consciousness in order to focus yourself into a physical reality. But you're using that negative mechanism in a positive way to have this physical experience. And you are misunderstanding the idea no one needs to suffer. But if that's what's going to help you learn how to transform it, you will accept that experience until you allow yourself to realize it's not about being forced. It's about having chosen to experience something so that you could learn the lessons from it so that you don't have to experience it again. No one says you have to keep experiencing it. The idea, again, is that when you allow yourself to accept that negative energy, negative mechanisms are valuable and can serve in certain ways that ultimately come out with positive results, then you will, in a sense, allow them to exist. Just because you are aware of negative mechanisms doesn't mean you have to choose them. You can be in the neutral place by accepting that everything, positive, negative, neutral, is valid because you can use them in so many different ways in the way that you prefer to aid and assist yourself. So when you allow it to be all right for negativity to exist just as a mechanism, then you can remain in the neutral space because you can choose what you prefer without invalidating what you don't. And at the same time, recognize that you may be using many negative mechanisms to positive effect, and sometimes even using positive mechanisms to negative effect. So it depends on how you use it. Rather than focusing on what it is, focus on the idea of how you choose to use the mechanisms for a positive reason.
See. And this person asked also, how can I let go of the core belief that there's something wrong with me?
The idea is that you may not necessarily always align with the path or the vibration that you prefer. But again, that's part of the learning experience. Some people simply, because of their belief systems, have to get sick and tired of being sick and tired, and then they'll change. So you might be using the mechanism of painting yourself in a corner by thinking that something's wrong with you until you finally get so tired of not being yourself and thinking that something is wrong with you that you finally give it up. So that may or may not be the way that you're doing this. But the idea is, if there really was something wrong in the sense that you didn't belong, that you are wrong for being you, for exploring the things and discovering the things that you're discovering, even if they're not in alignment with who you prefer to be. If there was truly something missing from you, something wrong with you, you wouldn't exist, because creation doesn't make mistakes. So whatever story you're telling yourself, whatever journey you're on, there is nothing wrong with you, because you are obviously a creative manifester. You're always manifesting something. You're always confident about something. Even if you're confident that you lack confidence, you're confident about that. So never assume that you lack confidence, that you lack trust, that you're out of control, because even when you feel out of control or when you feel that something is wrong, you're using your rightness and your control to create that experience for your own purposes, for your own reasons. You may not be aware of those belief systems that create those reasons, but that's why we encourage everyone to get in touch with what they are, because you're using your power to make it seem as if something is wrong with you. And if you don't prefer that, you can just as easily stop and realize that There is nothing wrong with you. You're just exploring different experiences of negativity and positivity in your own way. There's nothing wrong with that. And again, remember, ultimately, you're an indestructible spirit. This is a temporary situation. You'll get over it one way or another.
Why is it that staying in a higher vibration at times is a struggle? Also, are there some ETs helping us in cleansing the negative energy that has kept us from evolving?
We are helping by adding our energy to the vortexes of your planet and in a variety of other ways to make it a little easier for you to lock into the vibrations that are true for you individually and collectively. But again, the only reason why things may seem difficult to change or that they are a struggle is, again, your definitions. There is no such thing as an inherently difficult or struggling situation. It's only the way you're looking at it, the way you're defining it, that makes it experienced that way. Look deeply into your definitions and what you're afraid of that would make you hold on to those definitions, because you don't hold on to anything that you believe doesn't serve you. So if you are holding on to definitions that make things experienced to be a struggle or difficult to change, you're holding on to those definitions that make it seem that way because you have a belief that the worst thing possible would happen if you didn't. So you have to reverse that idea within you. You have to know that it's not a fact that the negative belief is telling you something worse will happen if you move forward on your joy. It's just a way it has of, shall we say, persevering, the way of protecting itself, the way of perpetuating itself by telling you things that are not facts, but that scare you into not moving forward. That's just the way it's designed to keep going and make sure you don't let it go, because all beliefs are designed to perpetuate themselves, because if they weren't, you wouldn't have a physical reality experience, because physical reality isn't real. It's a projection of consciousness. It's an illusion. So you have to believe something to be a fact. You have to believe something to be true in that sense in order for you to continue to have a physical reality experience. But you get to decide what you prefer and what you choose to believe in. So never assume that the fear that comes up is necessarily real. It's just the negative belief's way of making sure you don't let it go. You have to see through that trick in order to understand it is just a trick, and that what it's telling you, that something worse might happen if you move forward, is not a fact. It's just a belief, and you can change that.
What frequency do we as individuals need to be vibrating at to reach fourth density? And how far is the current Earth collective from reaching that goal?
It is advantageous for you to be somewhere around 100,000 cycles per second to maintain the momentum of moving into fourth density. Now, the collectivity of your planet, again, remember, you never change the planet you're on. You shift to a new version of Earth that is already reflective of the higher vibration when you experience a higher vibration around you. It's not the same planet. So to give you the answer of what's going on collectively on this version of Earth, or this version, or this is a dynamically moving answer. But right now, let's freeze a moment and say that on your planet, you will find the average vibration is somewhere between 50,000 and 80,000 cycles per second. But there are many that are way above that, but there is a significant number that are well below that. So again, the average for this particular frozen moment is what we just told you, but it's always dynamically shifting and changing, and you're never changing the world you're on. Remember that. You're navigating through different versions of Earth every single moment, billions of times